and welcome to Borgcast Original Series 1.4 with Anne-Marie and Peter.
Hello! We have a little bit of last time from Where No Man Has Gone Before, in fact. We've heard from Peter Parent, who says, I know I'm a bit late with this, but a bit of in-canon trivia. In the novel from the Next Generation universe, Q Squared, the author had Q get destroyed by Trelane and flung to the edge of the galaxy before Kirk and Enterprise cross it. That way making the force that infects Gary and the Doctor being part of the Q.
Oh.
Weird kind of in-universe plot twist. Just wanted to put those 2 pence forwards. Yeah, the books were all about joining up dots. And
They didn't need joining.
Yeah, the problem is you make the universe too small if everything's connected like that. But
except the Q, I don't know, the Q are one of those things that when you find out about them, you kind of expect, actually, them to have been meddling beforehand.
I don't know. Again, that kind of loses that. What I liked about Q was his relationship with Picard.
Yeah, and a non-relationship with Cisco.
Yes. So I think it's far better, actually, if the Q just stick with the Next Generation. But there you go.
Okay, fair enough. Well, isn't he in Picard? Coming up in Picard
supposedly,
season 2?
yes. Dan Toland and Purry pointed out that the gold uniforms look more like green in some lights, which might then go some way to explaining, A, why the captain's alternative uniform is green, and B, why some of the overalls are green, because those might be command uniforms.
Oh, so green and gold are the same thing?
Same thing, apparently, yes.
Maybe they were on them old tellies that Americans had.
Maybe.
And we've heard from Andy, who writes, while shimmer rating isn't really a thing for asteroids,
You surprise me.
they do use something called the albedo, which is effectively how much light is being reflected by the asteroids or planetary body. So something with a high albedo would be brighter than something with a lower albedo.
I know about albedo from Vangelis.
Escape velocity 7 miles per second. Albedo 0.39.
Yes, that's where I was thinking as well. But also from snow, because the albedo of snow is why you need to wear sunglasses when it's cold.
Aha.
There you go. Anyway.
Thank you for those little gems, folks.
Thank you! Yes.
We move on to the Man Trap.
Yes.
Captain's log, stardate 1324.1. On planet M113, we encounter a killer from a lost world.
Red modeling all over his face.
What happened?
What do you suppose happened, Captain? You beamed down a crewman who doesn't know better than to eat
I've just lost a crewman, Mrs. Crater. I want to know what happened. And what kills a healthy man?
I'll tell you something else. This man shouldn't be dead. I can't find anything wrong with him. According to all the tests, he should get up and just walk away from here.
Can you recognize this thing when you see it? Professor, I'll forego charges up to this point. But this creature's aboard my ship, and I'll have it. Or I'll have your skin. Or both. Now, where is it?
I'll kill to stay alone. You hear that, Kirk?
Crater knows the creature, if we can take him alive.
We don't want you here.
Let's get him.
Why the Man Trap? Well, of course, it's the sexist language of the time because it affects women as well, but man was used to include women. Which, we've got to the point now where I have to remind myself that was the case. I've got so used to talking about people rather than mankind, humankind, and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, there we are.
But, yeah, man never did actually include women.
Originally, the author, they had the title The Unreal McCoy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they should have gone with that.
Yes, I now want crisps.
Yes, quite. It was written by George Clayton Johnston, who worked on another Trek script that was never produced. And direction-wise, this is Mark Daniels, who will go on to direct number 13 episodes of Star Trek, the original series.
So you start with a captain's log, and Spock is in command because...
Always like that.
Yeah, because Kirk and some others, which I'll come on to in a minute, are about to beam down. They need to give a routine examination of archaeologists Dr. Crater and his wife Nancy. And the way they say his wife Nancy implies that she's just there along for the ride. When we see Nancy, in inverted commas, she's carrying an artefact which suggests that maybe they're both archaeologists and maybe the correct terminology would actually be the Doctor's crater.
Who knows?
Anyway, yes, it turns out that McCoy used to have a thing for Nancy. They were in a relationship before, and he's feeling a bit awkward.
Which is it's nice. It's not Kirk. You know,
Yes.
that's quite cool.
Kirk's like, you should bring her flowers. And then he's like, is that how you get women? Bribery. I love that as a line. It's brilliant. And they appear on what, to my eyes, on a big telly now, looks like a really properly shonky set. It has to be said.
Yeah, they're all the same, I'm afraid. They just have different coloured gels in the background. And apparently the plastic things they put over the lights to make them different colours gave off a really noxious smell.
Oh,
it's like melting plastic.
Anyway, so they go into the pyramid.
It is. It's kind of sort of inkerish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some of the designs inside as well reflect that.
So maybe more of a ziggurat than a pyramid. Anyway, I said that like I know the difference. Actually, I fucking don't.
Ziggurats are a bit more square.
Are they? I just know it from Rimmer. Up the ziggurat lickety split. Anyway, McCoy sees Nancy first, and she looks very young to him, and he's like, oh, you haven't aged a day. And Kirk looks, and she's got some grey hair. She's still attractive, but she has some grey hairs. And then we meet crewman Darnell.
Crabman!
Crabman!
My name is Earl.
Yes, that's where that's from.
Anyway, according to Crabman, she looks like a woman from Wrigley's Pleasure Planet. It's like so Wrigley's moved on from chewing gum to effectively running Riser.
Yeah, basically. Yes, this is pre-Riser. And he gets a mention in Enterprise as well, which is a nice touch.
Yeah, wow. Oh, they also did bubblegum, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Gosh. And now, did Wrigley's do blackjacks and applejacks and fruit salad?
I can't remember.
Sorry, I've gone down a little bit of a Wrigley's rabbit hole.
Right.
Sorry. So the crewman's made to leave for being rude. Because, I mean, she's looking like a completely different woman. It's not just an age difference.
Yeah,
she's looking, different hair colour, very, very different. And then you find out that Nancy used to call McCoy Plum. I'm thinking, does she like his plums? What is that? Oh, God. It's like calling somebody bollock. Just don't do it. Oh, you're my little bollocky man. Just no.
The look the dog gave you just then. And rightly so.
Yes. And that's your teaser.
Yeah.
Plum.
Plum.
So after the teaser, you have an additional captain's log. And Kirk is saying that at this point the landing party was unaware that each member of the crew had seen different women. And Dr. Crater doesn't want anybody there. Comes across as very irascible. I don't want you here. I won't want you to do anything. Oh, you're all jumped up on pound. And then he's like, oh, McCoy. Are you McCoy? Oh, okay then.
He's played by Alfred Ryder, who will be turning up in Buck Rogers. He's also in W. And the original True Grit film as well.
Oh, okay.
He has very strange intonation of his lines. I don't know what that's all about.
Went to the same acting school as Shatner.
Well, he's not quite as bad, but
it
is odd. Yeah. Oh, but worth mentioning, by the way, this planet has the singing plant sound from the pilot, the Cage, for no good reason. But get used to that, because apparently every planet has singing plants noises.
Right. We get onto weird shit plants later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it says that don't really want anything. They don't want supplies, just salt. And then Nancy cries out, and oh no, Crabman's dead.
Yeah, Crabman's bought the farm. Ooh. He was a bit of a plonker, wasn't he? But yeah. And notice he's not. Yeah, the red shirt thing doesn't come in until later on. He's a blue shirt, which is logical because he's effectively a medical away team, isn't it? So,
yeah. You get he's dead, Jim.
Yes.
And they say he's eaten a Borgia plant, and Nancy's crying. But now when McCoy looks at Nancy, he's seeing her the same way as Kirk does. And he's a bit confused by it, which is understandable. Anyway, they say they're going to take their crewmen away and they're going to complete the examinations of the craters tomorrow. And she mentions salt and how they need salt. And then you get this scene, and I don't know whether Uhura is flirting with Spock.
Yes.
or just trying to be friendly, or just provoke a reaction? Is it a teasing thing? Is it he's not supposed to have any emotions? Can I get him to show one? I don't know. How do you read this scene with Uhura and Spock?
Yeah, it's not full on. I'm in love.
No,
with you or
it's
anything.
not.
So I think it's just her being playful, basically, which is rather nice. She's in red.
Yes.
Relax, everybody. Uhura in red looks far better.
Yeah.
And this is the most she's had to say so far this
Yeah.
series. It's nice, this scene. And she gets some other good scenes as well in this episode.
Yes.
So that's good. Spock talks about Vulcan not having any moons,
Yes.
which is a bit unfortunate because Star Trek 3 has moons. Never mind.
Maybe they gained them.
Yes, they picked some up. They bought some from a shop. Inflatable moons.
The second-hand moon.
What?
What's the actual word? Second-hand something. It's not moon, though.
Well, that's not much help, is it?
No. And I don't even know what to Google because second-hand moon isn't a song.
Right.
Second-hand news?
Maybe. But nothing to do with moons.
No. Beer and my brain are friends.
And tiredness.
Yeah, that too.
This is why we're just doing one episode, folks.
And then the end of the scene with Uhura and Spock is Spock gets the announcement that the landing party's coming up and they've got one person dead, and he doesn't react. And she's just like, how can you not react? It could be Kirk, the closest thing you have to a friend.
This must be early days for Uhura on the bridge. She's clearly not used to Spock yet, because this wouldn't surprise Uhura, or one would imagine in a few stories' time she'll have got used to him. So, yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah, I think so. But then you find out that the Borgia plant is a relative of Deadly Nightshade. So in a way it would make sense that if the crewman had eaten the Borgia plant, he would be dead. The problem is that that sort of poisoning has a particular effect that the Doctor can easily spot, but there aren't any signs of that on this body. And also Spock points out that this type of poisoning doesn't involve the mottling of the face that we've seen, which our son described as ringworm.
Yes. Don't want to know about how he knows about ringworm.
And so at the moment it's cause of death unknown. So they're like, it's not the Borgia plant, but we don't know what it actually is. Then in the meantime, you get Uhura speaking again because they're being chased. Why haven't they made their appointment at a starbase? And they're being chased by another captain who wants his chili peppers. Which I like, because like all he said is, I really want the cargo, and you're thinking initially, shit, have they got really important medical cargo? And it's like, no, it's just chili peppers. He can wait a few days.
Red hot chili peppers.
Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. What can't tell a bubble, keep it on a bubble. Greedy little people in the sea of distress. Keep your more curious.
Yes.
Chewed.
Yes. So anyway, they've done another examination, and McCoy says that first time we missed it because it's so weird, but there's no salt in the body. Just none. It's just gone, all of it, which is obviously, why it's gone. And then it was like, no obvious point of entry. Well, actually there is. It's not mottling. That's where the salt is being sucked out from. And then you get, look, they both talked about salt tablets. And then, so they beam down because they're trying to find out more. It's understandable. And then you've got Kirk going, well, of course we understand your need for salt on a hot planet. I don't. Do you know why you would need salt on a hot planet?
Well, you sweat, so you lose salt, so you need to replace the salt.
But don't you need water more?
Well, you need water as well, but you don't generally have water tablets.
Well, you do, but they're not made of water. Water tablets are what old people take, and I don't know what it does.
Right, but then, yes, it's not water.
Maybe salt tablets aren't salt then.
I think they are.
Oh. This is confusing for my brain. Okay, new question. If they're in a desert and it's really hot, right?
Mm.
They need salt. They can't get it. Don't they also need water? Where is their water coming from?
I don't know. They've obviously got some sort of water, but they haven't got a source of salt. That's their problem.
Right. Okay, fair enough. And then Dr. Crater doesn't want to go aboard the ship because Kirk basically says, look, we've got some kind of unknown threat here. I don't know what it is. I've got the authority to make you come aboard ship. You're coming aboard my ship. But he runs off. And then you find another crewman dead, but they sent him off. Did they send him off on his own, which was stupid, or was he with Green initially and then they split up, which was stupid? In other words, was the order stupid or were the crewmen stupid?
I can't remember, to be brutally honest, but Yeah, I don't think they were particularly together because Green says that he went searching for
Yeah.
sturgeon, isn't it?
Yeah.
And John Arndt, by the way, as sturgeon, will be back 4 more times. Not obviously as sturgeon because he's kind of dead.
Yeah.
But he'll be back as a named crewman.
Yeah.
He was also in a TV show called Still the Beaver. Wow. Green, meanwhile, is played by Bruce Watson, who was a regular on the Banana Splits Adventure Hour.
Do you know, I can't remember a fucking thing about that show apart from the theme tune.
I can remember them driving around in those little buggies.
Yes, that's it.
That cropped up in Doctor Who at one point. And I remember they had really crappy, boring drama series like the Three Musketeers that were
Did
dull.
they?
Yeah. So I quite like watching the guys in suits
Did they
looking
have
around.
the flashing blade? What was the flashing
Yeah,
blade
I think
on?
that possibly they had the flashing blade. Yeah, I mean that's how they made the Adventure Hour, was padding it out with these boring serials from, even then they were from many decades earlier. They may even have been black and white. Yeah, the rest of it was in colour, and yeah, it was just
That
dross.
wasn't the source of Champion the Wonder Horse, though.
No, I think Champion the Wonder Horse had its own show. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
along with Lassie.
No, Lassie, I remember being its own thing. But Champion of the Wonder Horse, I was less sure.
And of course, Gentle Bear. No, we've already done the Corbomite manoeuvre.
Yes. Anyway, sorry.
Dragging ourselves back from children's programmes of our youth.
Yes, yes, which I really want to do a Shonky Lab on with Elton and Gareth. Anyway, so Crewman Green is dead, and you watch Nancy change into Crewman Green, but you always know when it's Nancy because she's biting her knuckles in a seductive way.
I don't think it's particularly seductive, but yes, that's the telltale sign, apparently.
And then you've got McCoy trying to sort of say, maybe my readings are wrong, maybe I've got something wrong here. Yeah, my eyesight might be playing tricks on me, because it was playing tricks on the planet or whatever. And then you get Kirk going, stop thinking with your glands, which I thought, all your plums.
Stop thinking with your plums. Yeah. It's kind of rich coming from Kirk, isn't it? But anyway.
Yeah.
But again, it's no been great sign of his high levels of libido that is associated with Kirk, yet to be fair. So
Yeah. So you've got Green wandering around, but the thing is, right, when he beams up because they think it's Green, he immediately starts looking at the ceiling in a way that ought to tell you that this is the first time he's seen this. You know what I mean? It's just, maybe they're doing it for the viewers to show, but you would think that some of the crew would pick up on this.
Yeah. Instead, they just pick up on his creepiness. But yeah.
Yeah. And he sees Rand, who's got space celery.
Yes, which is red.
Yeah. And salt. I've never understood the point of eating celery. If you've got to put salt on it, eat something nicer.
Yeah, I mean, salted celery. Ugh.
I don't like celery or salt particularly.
Yeah, but I just, the two.
Yeah. Anyway, and like she's eating it, even though she's supposed to be giving it to someone else, and then she slaps his hand and goes no, because he's all sort of like, but he's mesmerised by the salt, and it's almost there's no words, but it's almost like a zombie going brains. You can kind of see him going salt. It was weird. And so Rand wanders into a botanical lab.
The Arboretum, yep. Okay. So, Rand goes to see Sulu in the Arboretum, bringing
Why
him...
is Sulu in the Arboretum?
He in this episode, he has a thing about plants. I'm not sure it's ever mentioned again, but in this episode... And maybe this dates back to the days when he was in the science division, back in the... Was it the cage he was in, or the Where No Man Was Before? Can't remember, but either way, he was in sciences originally. So
if he's doing botanical research, is he in the Botany Bay?
Okay. What I don't quite understand, I would have assumed that he wouldn't get lunch brought to him the same way as Kirk does. Is Rand Sulu's yeoman as well? Doesn't seem right somehow. But anyway, there we go. Yeah, she wanders in with the food, and he says, "Oh, it's a redress of the sick bay, by the way, fairly obviously." And Sulu says, "May the great bird of the galaxy bless your planet." Wow, so that presumably means that Sulu and Rand are from different planets.
Yeah.
So Rand can't therefore be from Earth, which is interesting. And yeah, is that some sort of blessing from Sulu? mean, it's obviously the origin of the phrase that then got associated with Gene Roddenberry, but yeah.
I like that idea. Unfortunately, it automatically conjured up in my mind G-Force. As the phoenix, as the great bird of the galaxy, you see.
Green comes in and freaks Sulu's glove puppet plant out.
Oh my God, this plant is terrible.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me.
Except it looks like an
Washing up glove.
An under 5 made it out of tissue paper.
Yeah,
it's fucking awful.
It's a Blue Peter make, isn't it?
Isn't it?
You can make this creature from Star Trek. Look.
Oh, it's got 5 petals, really, obviously,
Yeah, I
because
know.
there are 5
They
fingers
don't
in a
make
hand.
any effort to disguise the fact that this is clearly a bloke's hand.
Oh, fucking hell. It's just... Well, I mean, it might be a woman's hand, but it's clearly a person's hand.
Yeah, it's not good.
No, bad. Really, really shockingly bad.
Anyway, it's nice that both Uhura and Sulu are getting scenes away from the big three, so that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Green transforms into a crewman with a science uniform. This is Vince Howard, who has 2 appearances in Cheers to his name. Hey! Also, BJ Count 1. Yeah, this is a thing from Buck Rogers. It's now becoming a thing for Star Trek. Basically, BJ and the Bear, is one of those things that nearly everybody's been in. So from now onwards, all episodes get a BJ count.
Now, this is the thing. We asked in the Buck Rogers about what United Statesians, whether they said poo and stuff. So for United Statesians, for us in the UK, BJ means blowjob. So basically, you have a show called Blowjob and the Bear. Does BJ not mean blowjob in the US?
I'm pretty sure we've asked this before, and the answer was no.
Right.
Or at least it never used to be, anyway.
Right.
So, yeah, otherwise they would never have called the programme that, clearly. But anyway. Continuing the original series is a good track record of having characters from different ethnic backgrounds, which is nice. Does far better on ethnic backgrounds than it does on gender, let's face it.
Yeah,
Give Roddenberry some credit, having been consistently running him down.
Yeah, but, it is possibly, bearing in mind I'm not that familiar with the politics of the time, hence me saying, in the US anyway, hence me saying possibly. But I think possibly if you had to pick something, then actually at that point in time in the US, it was more important to show people of different colours of skin in space working together. Do you know what I mean? Having senior roles, being integrated. Do you know what I mean? Than it was necessarily showing women in important roles. In other words, thinking of the history of how Roddenberry had originally wanted, hadn't he, a female first officer. I don't know what pressure, if any, he came under to not have black people, necessarily.
A little bit, I seem to remember reading, yes. But there we go. It was also his idea that the crewman speaks Swahili to her.
I like that. Now, is it actually Swahili?
It is. And he says, "How are you, friend? I think of you, beautiful lady. You should never know loneliness."
Oh,
That's not a bad line, actually. I mean, I might learn that.
For why? For what?
Okay, I'm going to stop now.
For what?
Before I dig a hole.
You fucking dug that hole.
No.
You're fucking in it.
Oh, well, it's almost enough to melt her heart and make her susceptible to a salt snack, but thankfully she's called to the bridge and Rand emerges from the Arboretum. Then a crewman called Barnhart emerges, wearing the strange silver jacket with the pouches from Corbomite Maneuver.
What the fuck is that? What? Does anybody know what that is?
Well, I managed to find out that originally that outfit was used in The Outer Limits.
Okay.
So it wasn't designed for Star Trek, and it kind of shows. It's not very Trek, and the reason for that is because it came from a different show. But clearly they were just raiding the dressing up box from The Outer Limits.
Yeah.
For that, and if you remember, some of the aliens in the cage were from that as well.
Yes, the sort of
the bird one.
Yeah.
Played by Bud Allwright, who will
He's not though, is he?
No, he isn't all right. Although improbably he will return another couple of stories, again as different crewmen. They do recycle their actors a bit, don't they, Guy?
They did in Doctor Who, though.
They did, you're right, yes.
Maybe it's a thing of this period of television, wherever you are, that...
People didn't expect to keep watching your show or something.
Well, I'm thinking more of theatre. You have rep, don't you? You have the same company of people.
Yeah, you're right, yes. Maybe it is a sort of rep type of approach, yes.
Because at that time, maybe they had more of a theatre type approach to telly, which has since changed.
Hey, Cyril Shapps made an entire career out of returning on Dot 2 as different characters. So, you know.
Yeah, talking of Cyril Shaps, fucking hell, I was looking up something. I can't remember what it was, but it was for like about 6 weeks or so's time. And as I was scrolling through the diary, it actually fucking said you put it in our fucking diary, Cyril Shaps' birthday.
Yeah, it's an
Why
important
have
date.
we got fucking Cyril Shaps' birthday in our calendar as though he's somebody we know? A, we never fucking knew him. B, he's fucking dead.
Yes, but see Cyril Shaps. It's an important Memorial Day. Doesn't everybody have Cyril Shaps Day in their diary?
No!
Well, they should. Anyway.
Wow, I'm at a loss for words.
Barnard gets salt sucked off screen, and his body.
Salt sucked.
Yes, salt sucked.
Phenomenal.
His body salty. And this episode could have taken a far more pornographic turn, couldn't it?
That's an easy way to get salty goodness out of people.
Well,
isn't
there
it?
you go. You see.
No wonder everybody's been in fucking BJ and the Bear.
That's why she puts McCoy asleep on his bed. Anyway, his body is found by Rand and Sulu, who raised the alarm. There's some great music as the salt vampire stalks the corridors and finds McCoy's quarters, transforming back to Nancy's form. She starts getting snuggly, and ever the gentleman, the Doctor reminds her of her husband, and apparently she prefers Leonard's stronger feeling for her. McCoy is called to the bridge by Uhura, but Nancy has persuaded him to take some sleeping pills. Then the creature takes McCoy's form rather than eat his salt, presumably because it's attracted to him, I guess. Nobody else gets killed straight off.
Yeah, and it seems to be why, when they were alone, Dr. Crater hasn't had a problem.
Yeah, that's true as well.
Because he says in the meeting, doesn't he?
Until McCoy's on the scene and then he gets off later on.
Yes,
Yeah.
but he says in the meeting that the salt vampire needs love as well.
Yeah. Love and salt. Salty love.
Phenomenal.
Ruin this episode. The previous two episodes we couldn't ruin because they were awful. This is a good episode, which we are ruining, and I can only apologise.
No, don't. That's why people listen to us. We are the smut soldiers of Win or something.
Okay. T-shirts pending. It's not quite as good. Who was it? Soldiers of Tangent. Was that
Legion
Marty?
of Tangent. Yeah, no, I think so. And
yeah.
We're the smut soldiers of Win because
Yeah.
because of course we are. I don't know. It's what my brain said.
It's a bit weird to have an evil duplicate 2 episodes in a row, but never mind. It's done differently. Let's face it. DeForest Kelley doesn't ham it up in the way that Shatner did in the last story.
That's just it. DeForest Kelley is quieter, playing the salt vampire. Does the
knuckle chewing.
the knuckle chewing, but is otherwise you wouldn't know other than Spock suspects.
Yeah.
But it's underplayed, not overplayed.
Whereas Evil Kirk was a bit of a giveaway in every scene.
God. Yeah, just a little bit.
Mascara aside, but yeah. Kirk and Spock beam to the planet and quiz Crater about his wife. In the original draft of the script, it was Kirk and Scotty, which would have made more sense. But Roddenberry changed it. Aboo! Spock finds Green's body, which is presumably gone a bit green at this point. The captain orders Sulu to call General Quarters 3. So I did a bit of Googling. And in naval terms, that's kind of what we think of as Yellow Alert from Trek.
Oh, okay.
Getting ready for action rather than the usual, Red Alert being in the midst of action.
Now, I'm a bit confused. Might need Andy's help. Why is it general quarters? Because that makes me think that everyone should go to their quarters when if there's a problem, you want to be at your stations. Hence, I'm more used to the phrase battle stations. General quarters would make me think I had to go to bed.
No, it's not about going to your quarters, but yeah. Anyway, Yellow Alert clearly hasn't been invented yet, basically.
They didn't want to do something that involved changing light bulbs.
Yeah. Amongst the crew thronging the corridors, we see a woman wearing trousers for the first time.
In a while.
Yes, indeed, since We're No Man. Professor Crater fires at the landing party with a phaser from the pilot, which is a nice touch. Arriving at the bridge, the vampire almost gives itself away, talking about the hunt for a creature. And you can see the cogs ticking in Sulu's mind.
Yeah.
But sadly, he doesn't act straight away. Kirk and Spock flank Crater, and the captain stuns him. And there's a weird sound effect.
Oh, I love it, though.
It's the only time you hear this, by the way. As the professor goes down, telling them his wife is dead at the hands of the vampire. In fact, she died a couple of years ago, apparently. And it's the last of its kind. His voice is weirdly slowed down to represent the effects of the stun shot. But, yeah, it's odd, really. They go up to General Quarters 4, which I think is pretty much red alert. But, yeah, again, they haven't quite modified the terminology yet. They show security crew doing their jobs, reporting in on the corridors, which is good.
And there's a beekeeper. Why is there a beekeeper?
I think that's supposed to be some sort of radiation suit, but yes, it does look more like a beekeeper. Like, the Enterprise D has whales, and the original Enterprise has bees.
Oh, man.
Well, yes. As does the Enterprise B, presumably. But anyway.
Yeah.
They also left salt out as bait. But, of course, the vampire in the form of McCoy knows this, so he isn't taking them up on the free snacks. Crater is asked if he'd recognise the creature if he saw it. He says he can, but he won't expose it, as it is his connection to Nancy. At which point he seems a bit mad. There's some discussion of the creature being the last of its kind, like the buffalo. More was made of this apparently in earlier drafts. Spock suggests using a truth serum, but of course it would be dodgy Dr. McCoy administering it, so that's not going to work. It's also nicely tense as Spock accompanies them.
Yeah. But this is, again, it's truth serum, and we've just done truth serum in Buck Rogers, haven't we? It's
a thing in the future, apparently.
Yeah.
Sure enough, Spock ends up on a biobed, not dead, thanks to his different Vulcanian physiology.
Is this the first time we see his green blood?
I think it is, yes. Establishes that, yes, Spock's blood is green. And Crater turns out to be dead.
But I like the fact that, A, the blood is green, that they even thought to do that. I mean, brilliant idea. But I also like the fact that it doesn't work for him. So, like, I don't know, salt tastes wrong, or there isn't enough salt or something. Do you know what I mean?
He's only got manky salt, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The vampire, looking like Nancy, goes to see Bones, and so does Kirk with a handful of salt pills. McCoy can't see sense, and the vampire is about to suck Jim's salt. When Spock arrives, he proves to Bones that it isn't Nancy by slapping her in the face repeatedly. Was that Shatner's idea? The vampire...
And it's the double-fisted thing.
Yeah, he really goes to town on her, doesn't he? The vampire...
Not in that way.
You can imagine if he got that wrong. Oh, sorry. The vampire reveals its true self in that classic image that Lower Decks likes so much.
Yes, but I love this, though, as a costume.
For rubber face monsters, it's not bad.
I really like it.
The mouth is pretty creepy with those little teeth and...
Yeah. And I think where the reason it works is because you don't see it for very long, and it doesn't try to do very much. And bearing that in mind, I think it I think it holds up. I think it works really well. I don't think it would work very well if you suddenly expected it to start talking, moving around. Yes. Do you know what I mean? But just for those shots, and just to look really alien and creepy and weird as fuck.
Creepy is the key thing, and it's a modified gas mask, and gas masks are creepy.
Yeah.
So.
Are you my mummy?
The downside is it would appear to shop at the same clothes supplier as the Sea Devils.
You did make me think of that.
Thing
but the Sea Devils don't look right. They don't really look that creepy. This does.
Yeah.
This does look, as I said, I don't think it would work if they tried to do more with it, but they don't. You know, good on them. I think it's a good effect.
It's more convincing than Shatner's scream when it starts chowing down on him. Poor McCoy has to shoot her and still seems to think it's Nancy. Presumably he's affected by the same sort of influence that it had over Professor Crater.
Well, it's a vampire, isn't it? Salt vampire, so it will have hypnotic, powers of mesmerisation.
Of course it will, because that's the law.
That's what vampires have, isn't it?
But salt vampires, who knows? But yes, apparently they do. We finished with Kirk pondering the buffalo, which is a nicer end than we've had to the other episodes so far. There's no pun, there's no ickiness. Relax. It's good stuff, despite Shatner, who lets it down a bit, I think. It's funny enough, he seems to start episodes well, and as the episode goes on, he gets hammier as it goes on. So the final scenes with McCoy, not so good. But anyway. Yeah.
There is a nice scene in the middle where I think Kirk realises he's been too harsh on McCoy. Because McCoy goes, have I made another mistake? And he goes,
nice.
And he says... I'm not counting. And that was a really nice scene, I thought. That was really warm scene. I think Shatner can act.
It's when he's called to be too dramatic. That's the problem. As soon as he goes over the top.
So I think he needs the right sort of director.
Shatner called this one of their worst shows.
I think it's good.
Had you not
like
seen
it.
Spock's Brain? What the hell?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's a simple premise, well shot, well acted for the most part.
Yeah.
I
liked it. I think it's good. I was a bit confused as to why Spock had a shiny space blaster.
Oh, Spock's shiny space blaster. That's cool.
And also, in the final scenes, it's wonky. It's like they've cut it from dressing strip and the person can't cut straight.
Just be thankful it isn't a Mr. Men one, okay?
Okay. Yeah, that's true. It could be worse.
You can see why they chose this as the first episode of the broadcast. Because it is very sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's got an alien creature. It's not got dodgy, space pimps or rapey scenes. So, all in all, this is a far more acceptable face of Trek.
Yes.
Although I would have thought the Cold Mike Maneuver was also, would have been
that's
a
true.
good one
Yeah.
to start off with.
But this is good. I think the only issue I have with it, really, is that watching it, having watched it before, so there'll be episodes where I've watched all of the original series before. Some episodes I remember better than others, okay? Watching it, having watched it before, the moment the buffalo comes up, my immediate thought is, okay, they're seeking out new life and new civilizations. Why has the Dr. Crater not sent a message to say, I have discovered a unique creature, the last of its kind.
But he's he's under the thrall of the vampire by then, isn't he? He's kind of in love with.
Because if he says, it's the last of its kind, but it's dangerous for you to visit here.
Yeah. But
I'm safe, but you're dangerous.
But one of the reasons why he comes over is so strange, I think, is because he's kind of in the same way as McCoy comes over strange later on. Is that,
it's the hypnosis a la Christopher Lee Dracula.
It's the influence. No influence, yes.
Okay. No, fair enough. Okay, but that did make me think of that. This time round as to why he hadn't done that. Kirk does then say, it is a bit like the buffalo, which makes me think, did they really explore other ways of dealing with it other than killing it? I kind of am a little bit surprised that Spock in particular didn't come up with an
he's all for
alternative.
killing it. Yeah,
do you know? Did he not come up with an alternative, or at least?
But
say,
again, bear in mind the number of crew that have already died at this point. So it's kind of
okay. So maybe then I'm too used to Picard, who would have done almost anything.
I don't know if crew had been killed. I think even he had been more.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. And we've heard from Boss, who wrote, "What's going on? The crewman who died on the planet wasn't wearing a red top. Is nobody safe?" Clearly that cliche hasn't actually become a cliche yet.
No, I mean, you would expect more security guard people to die, but up till now it hasn't happened.
This episode has problems of a different sort to last week's, but thankfully they're ones of story rather than ickiness. The problem with this episode is that from the very beginning, it reveals that Nancy is not what she seems before the crewman turns up dead. This makes it obvious that she killed him, and it ruins all the later reveals in the story.
Yeah, but the bottom line is there are only two protagonists, effectively. It could be her or her husband. So, in a way, that was never going to be the way the story is going to pan out, so they may as well be open from the beginning about who the villain is.
This makes it obvious that she killed him and ruins all the reveals later on in the story. If by chance you hadn't noticed that she appeared differently to each member of the away team, then there's another pointless voiceover to hammer it home. Later on, we get a long, drawn-out stalking of Professor Crater by Kirk and Spock that ends with him confessing what the audience and Mr. Sulu had worked out already. Some of the scenes on the Enterprise were okay, and it was good for McCoy to get centre stage. I also liked the Muppet plant, but was slightly disappointed that it didn't sing a song.
Yeah, okay.
Not the best episode, but I wonder how much of the reveal of the creature at the end was ruined for me by Lower Decks.
Yeah, Lower Decks does like that look, doesn't it? Yes.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I rather like it.
I like it. Although I would have liked the flower to sing a song too.
And we've heard from Jeff. It makes sense that this was the first episode broadcast. It has a solid alien mystery plot with a creepy atmosphere, but it really shines in the character department. One of the best things that ever happened to the franchise was casting DeForest Kelley as Dr. McCoy. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And it was a treat to have him the focus of an episode. Like in Corbomite Maneuver, the friendship between him and Kirk feels genuine,
Yes.
arguments included. What I really enjoy about this episode is the moments we get with the supporting characters, her especially. The scene where she flirts with Spock is quite fun, though the Abrams reboot movies really took this moment and made it a major plot point. The scene with the creature is pretty impressive too.
Yeah, I think so.
We get to see the first occurrence of Sulu's parade of hobbies, with botany this time. He'll have a few more of these throughout the first season. Rand has a lot of personality. Too bad her role seems to only be serving people food and being harassed by lecherous crewmen.
Yeah.
The creature is a great design and really freaked me out when I was a kid. Yeah, me too. It may not hold up now, but I'm incapable of seeing it, just like the wobbly sets. I have a difficult time objectively viewing the original series, so your coverage thus far has been very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We've heard from Doreen.
I'm feeding back on the man trap. This definitely had a eerie feel to it. All the music seemed to be trying to make me scared. It wasn't overly scary, and I pretty much knew it was the woman or the creature pretending to be the woman from the start. But that's because of all the years of watching Star Trek I've had. This episode also made me realise why sometimes at tea time I used to find the original series on the Horror Channel when I was channel hopping, because I suppose for people who had only had about a handful of episodes of Star Trek, the whole fact of not being able to trust the Doctor of all people was probably pretty scary, especially when the creature became the Doctor, obviously. I was thought it was good that there was actually a button to open the doors rather than the doors just opening as they do in later Trek. But I think I realised that perhaps because this first series is so much more retro, it was futuristic in the 60s, but it's not futuristic now because we're used to automatic doors, so to have to press a button for a door to slide seems quite old-fashioned now, so history, I suppose. But I was, the man in the sort of looked like a life jacket in a way. It was a body warmer with loads of pockets. When he got killed by the creature and was found by Sulu and stuff, the actor didn't do very well at playing dead because his eyes were twitching. But that's probably big TVs and technology nowadays that shows that up. Also, Man Trap is not the best title for this because, at the beginning, it was men she was luring and killing, but Uhura got, fantasy man, and so on. So it wasn't just men that were getting trapped. Also, I thought the yeoman eating off of Sulu's tray was, disgusting, but also in COVID times, it was like, what are you doing? And that poor woman, if she's going to be the one in danger and getting assaulted every week, is she the Miles O'Brien of the original series? I'm sure there's more to say, but I've not got any notes or anything, so I'll leave it to the rest of you to say what I've missed. Bye.
Thanks, Doreen.
Thank you, Doreen. I do wonder whether Mr. Packets or Pockets or whatever we're calling him with that strange suit, whether it's only on our bigger tellies and high resolution that you can see he's very much not dead. And whether on the tellies at the time, maybe it wouldn't have been as obvious.
Yeah, you might not have noticed the blinking, I suppose, yes.
In terms of the button, rightly or wrongly, I always saw it as like a doorbell or a lift call button rather than an opening the door button. Have I got that wrong?
No, it's not an opening the door button because they don't normally need to do that. My suspicion is it's something to do with the personal quarters being able to be locked.
Oh, so it's locked.
So you press that button, you go out, and then it's locked. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
That's just a thought.
It's not clear, though, is it?
No, it's not clear at all.
No. And yeah, it is a retro future rather than the actual future. It's a look I like, to be honest. I like 60s retro future.
Mm-hmm.
But that might just be me, but I do. I like the look. And no, Man Trap isn't the best title to us now, but a Man Trap is either is or used to be. Genuinely don't know if they've changed the name or not.
Yeah. But hopefully they're not used anymore. So
yeah, but you know, like you have like bear traps, and rabbit snares. There used to be ones that were literally designed for humans to capture them and by the leg and mangle them, and a really, really horrible idea, but they existed as a physical object, and my guess is that that's where the wording for this episode coming from.
Yes, it's up there with like manhole and things like that. It's like in those days, people wouldn't have thought twice that didn't include all of humanity, whereas now we're like, so why is it just men that are being trapped by this? But anyway. Unreal McCoy was a better name.
Definitely it was.
Would have stood up far better over the years, but they weren't to know.
In terms of not being able to trust the Doctor being scary, I think this is one of the episodes that would have benefited from the fact that episodes were routinely shown out of order. Because you would have watched this, potentially having seen lots of episodes with McCoy in, and then actually it would have been more scary that you suddenly can't trust McCoy and don't know who McCoy is, compared to watching this in either air order or production order. It comes quite soon. Whereas if you're watching this out of sequence, as it was often aired, it could have been much scarier. Because McCoy's lovely, so the idea you can't trust McCoy is like, that's proper scary, I think.
And in terms of scariness, back when I was a kid, Trek was too scary for me.
Really?
Yeah, there were some episodes that I remember. Interestingly, our next episode that we're covering traumatised me.
Really?
Yeah. Same way that I couldn't watch Doctor Who either. That I found that too scary to begin with. Even though, looking at it now, it's like, why was I scared of mandrills? But apparently they were scary to, 7-year-old me, so...
See, I wasn't scared by things, but I was traumatised by them, like Dogtanian saying goodbye to his horse.
Something else.
Yeah. So, I had...
My imagination took things to places, way beyond what the episode was showing you. And I'll pick that up in the next episode.
Sure,
anyway.
Whereas I think I didn't necessarily get scared by things as such, but I had very strong emotional reactions, way beyond the reactions that the people writing the things I was watching expected me to have, if you see what I mean. So I was much more likely to be either upset or angry or happy. And just saying that you knew from the start that it was the woman, yes, it could be that you've watched, too much Trek, but I think Boss is onto something here because you know that it's a woman, don't you, from really early on. And
as I say, there are only two possible suspects, so it was never going to be a mystery, this one. That's not what it's about. It's about, will our crew be able to realise and do something about it?
Yeah.
But it's not a murder mystery by any means, because as I say, there are only two suspects.
Yeah.
We've also heard from the Llama God.
Llama Log, Scott Date, Ficketsy Earn, Coig, Oakjake. It seems so long ago Nancy was alone. Alright then, another episode, another exciting, fascinating voyage of discovery as we find out exactly what women are useful for. Okay, it's not quite as bad as the previous two episodes, but nevertheless, this episode does have a few uncomfortable moments concerning its relationship with women and how it treats women. I mean, in general, it's better than the previous two, which isn't a particularly high bar, it must be said. Given that one of the earlier lines of the episode is, you know how women are, you know things aren't looking particularly good, don't you? And considering how important the age and youthfulness of one of the main characters is and how central that becomes to the main storyline, it's still not particularly great, is it? It's still looking at a woman's worth based on how young and pretty she looks, and it's not good. It's not good. We even get some moments with Uhura, who is not restored at all actually, who has finally in her proper red uniform. We even have Uhura demonstrating that she is unfulfilled unless she has a man to be romantically involved with. One of these instances is actually forgivable because that's when she falls under the influence of the Salt Vampire, and of course being a vampire, its whole modus operandi is to seduce so that it can get the blood, the salt from the blood, that it actually wants. So when she meets the strange, random, unknown crewman in the corridor, that's fine. But when she comes on to Spock on the bridge, yeah, that's a little bit odd, isn't it? I wonder if that's where the writers of the 09 Star Trek film came up with the whole Spock Uhura thing. Or maybe it's because they just didn't know how to write female characters. Yeah, probably the latter, isn't it? So yeah, there are some slightly distasteful sexual political moments in this, but yeah, as I say, it's not quite as bad as the previous one. The central concept of the episode is an interesting one. A lone creature, the last surviving member of its race, trying to survive, doing what it can. Yeah, that's actually an interesting one. And indeed, it does present a moral dilemma. And it's the kind of moral dilemma that Star Trek will become famous for. But unfortunately, in this episode, the dilemma is really rather thrown away quite quickly. As Carter, it was Carter, wasn't it? I'm completely forgetting now. But as Carter says on the planet, and bear in mind that Carter is set up as being the bad guy in this episode because he's the one who nurtured and protected the monster, basically. He's the one that allows it to keep going on killing. So he is painted as being the bad guy. He is the one to make the argument that surely the creature, being the last of its kind, surely it has the right to survive. It's just doing what comes naturally to it. And that is the kind of moral dilemma that becomes the core of a Star Trek episode, a Star Trek story. Now we look at things from different points of view, but no, unfortunately in this episode, the only possible moral solution is to kill it. And yeah, I guess that very much speaks to the American political approach to the time, which is if we cannot understand it or otherwise subdue it, then we will destroy it. So yeah, fair enough. I guess that fit into the cultural mindset at the time, but still it's a bit uncomfortable seeing that come from Star Trek. So really, the central premise, whilst being interesting, the whole idea of it being a creature that can hide in plain sight and the last of its kind, that's all good stuff, but it is somewhat wasted here. I know it's meant to be a classic, but also at the same time I can't help but feel the opportunity was very wasted. In other areas though, this does continue to feel more like Star Trek that we would come to know and love, aside from Uhura being read. Spock also feels more like Spock this time round. Aside from the fact that he insists that Nancy be killed, aside from that, he is more dispassionate and calmer in this. There's not a lot of shouting. There's definitely no suggestions that maybe sexual abuse implies hidden romantic feelings. Yeah, there's none of that. So he is becoming a bit more the Spock that we also grew to know and love. So there's that to it as well. And we get more Sulu, and that's good. Although his role doesn't seem particularly cemented in this. Is he still a botanist, or is it just that he has lots of plants in his own quarters? If that's the case, what is he doing with that strangely mobile hand-shaped plants in his own quarters anyway? What do you want that for? Oh my. But yeah, and sure, the sets aren't great. They do beam down onto the play school stage, which is a bit disconcerting. You expect to see the salt monster pop out through the round window at some point, although it was only square windows in this one. And some of the action on the planet is unintentionally hilarious, with Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner crawling on their bellies at speed through sand that's just been thrown over the unconventional stage set. Yeah, there's some not so bad things to it. As I say, it's not bad. It could have been better. But it is Star Trek becoming a bit more Star Trek. It is less sleazy than the previous two episodes, so yeah, it's not quite as off-putting. Unfortunately, I don't have Joe's input into this one because she just wasn't paying attention, so yeah, oh well, guess maybe we'll find out to the next one. So yeah, not their best effort, but you know, a solid step in the right direction. As ever, I look forward to finding what everyone else has made of this. I hope everyone that lives outside of the walled megacities is being careful and safe as things return to what we used to call normal. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers, sir.
Yes, I do think Spock feels more like Spock in this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's true. But in terms of the Spock Uhura, possibly this is where the 09 writers came up with this from.
Again, I don't really get romance out of it. I think they're just, you know,
Well, I
she's
don't know.
sparking off him a bit and he's not taking the bait. I mean, that's the thing. Whereas in the 09, it's like he's apparently Captain Randy Spock. I don't know what that
Maybe
was all
he was
about,
having
but...
Ponfar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it just doesn't... No, doesn't get started about Star Trek 09. Let's just move on.
Fine. I don't know. I find it difficult to tell genuinely whether she's flirting with him or provoking him, if you see what I mean. I'm not sure.
She's just passing the time of day, having a conversation. I don't think there's anything more serious to it than that.
Okay, fair enough. I think that Llama is agreeing with me that the moral dilemma over the last of its species is done with too quick.
Well, if we compare this when we get to The Devil in the Dark, it'll be interesting to do a compare and contrast when we get to that.
Is that the one with the walking vomit?
It is, yes. But that feels a lot more Trek in the way it resolves the story. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because all the way through, the salt vampire doesn't show any signs of any remorse, or
that's
it's
true.
It's very
actually.
much a predator. It's like,
well, except that she's crying initially, or is that put on, or is she crying with remorse that she's attacked the crewman?
Oh no, she's only crying out to get their attention and say, "Oh, this is a horrible accident has happened," as opposed to, "I've just sucked this guy's saltiness."
Fanar.
No,
she was in BJ and the Bear.
Damn it!
She was in BJ and the Bear. That's what it is.
Anyway. But yes, there's no point at which this thing isn't presented as something that is just going to, you know, kill you given any opportunity at all, unless it's also in love with you, in which case you might, you know, be allowed to live for a while until it falls in love with something else. But yeah, it's basically it's the predator. There's no reasoning with it. I don't think there's much you can do about it. that's slightly unsatisfying in a sort of Trek context where you kind of like to see multi-dimensional villains that are actually got, you know, a good side and a bad side and stuff. But it's just the way that it was written, basically. So I don't have a problem with Spock saying kill it, because you know, what's the alternative? It's just going to carry on eating everybody. What are you going to do?
Beam it down to the planet and leave it there.
Put big warning buoys up and say, do not
quarantine.
Quarantine planet. Yeah, I guess that would have been a better option.
And supply it with salt.
No. Right, okay, let's move on. I volunteer. No. Oh, and that wasn't Sulu's quarters with all the plants, by the way. It's marked as the botany.
It's the Botany Bay.
Arboretum. It's the Botany Bay. Yeah.
Botany Bay. Botany Bay. Oh no.
What did Drew and Tracy make of this?
Hello, this is feedback for The Man Trap.
And what do we think of that one then?
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good.
Lots going on in this.
There was.
Typical TOS, lots of kind of like dramatic acting and dramatic storylines and aliens. So let's go through some stuff then.
Okay.
So, we knew as soon as they beamed down. Well, so the episode starts as Kirk is like doing his log. And he says like him and McCoy are beaming down, so he doesn't mention.
Poor old Darnell.
Yeah, exactly. So you knew instantly he was going to cop it. And there were just like a lot of unnamed crew in this one that you never dig in.
No red shirts. This is normally like the first episode of Star Trek. This is the one that he's in broadcast order normally, number one. And all the people, there's no. I don't mean any red shirt stars. They're all yellows and blues.
Yellows and blues, yeah.
Yep.
So I didn't quite get.
Yep.
They didn't really explain why they needed salt.
Well, Robert just says that, the professor just says that
you live
they
in
need
an arid
salt.
planet and you're obviously sweating it out a lot.
Oh,
so
well,
if
you
salt.
mean them two, yeah. I mean, that is a
what
thing,
they said.
isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but...
It's like people in very hot countries that
but
need
it turned
salt,
out to
don't
be
they?
bollocks because it was an alien.
Yeah, but you do need salt in hot countries. I think, like in the army, if they're posted in like, very hot countries, they take salt tablets. So that is a thing.
I know that, but it was an alien.
Yeah, it just happened that the alien also needed like tons of salt.
So we can't let this go without talking about the pink plant.
Yeah,
lab. That was hysterical.
I like Sulu. He's got so many strings to his bow, and he's a botanist. He's another string.
Absolutely. But what I can't understand is the yeoman was taking him his lunch, noshing on his celery.
Oh, he was laughing at that, wasn't he?
He was laughing because we was like, oh, she's having her lunch. Hey, is that the captain's lunch? No, it must be her lunch because she's eating it. And then when she's like to Sulu, I've got your lunch, it's going to be like, there's fuck all left, love.
He's like, there's bite marks on that celery stick.
But then when she laid it down, miraculously, it had grown. Yeah. So, you know, it was like there was nothing to it.
It's good. I liked Green, like when he was the monster. the guy, the actor, he's good at it. He did have like a right kind of like weirdness about him, didn't he?
Give me salt.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
So it's good to see McCoy a little bit emotionally involved in this one because he doesn't tend to be.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
He doesn't have many love interests, though, does he? Or does he?
I don't know. Not too sure.
Is this something I'm gonna?
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, he was just a bit blind, and it just shows you, doesn't it? Like blinded by.
It's his thing.
He's
isn't
a very
it?
strong, intelligent man. He's a doctor.
In all of these things, like the person that loves the person that most ends up being the one that's got to kill him, isn't it?
But what I didn't understand is when they were sitting in the conference room.
Yeah.
I can't even think what it is.
Yeah,
all right. And they're kind of discussing what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And like McCoy is like, obviously it's the alien.
The salt vampire.
And he's kind of going, well, I could do this, and I could. Why does someone not say to him, you're a fucking doctor, why are you acting like a dick, like you don't know what you're doing? Like, oh, I could give him a truth serum, but I don't really want to do it.
Yeah, there's a few tells, wasn't there?
Yeah, why someone would like call you out as a doctor?
Yeah. Yeah, it was good when at the end though, when he's like, Spock, just shoot it, doctor, just shoot it, and he's like giving the double fist slap to Nancy. It's good stuff.
And then when she copped
Spock
at the end, And I said to you, so all the way through, there've been like loads of dramatic acting, and then when she gets shot, and then kind of Kirk gets released from her almost like
hypnotic
sucker grip. He just kind of puts his hands in his head.
Yeah,
or his
I
head
think
in
he
his
was just
hands
like
and, turns
recovering,
away,
wasn't
and it's
he?
just like the most docile acting.
He was just recovering from a traumatic experience.
Well, but even like her, she just kind of went, into the corner.
Yeah.
Anywho, it was good to see. We thought this looked a little bit like a Morlock.
Is it like a Morlock? Yeah. It might be the same costume, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Normally the first episode, and it's good. I think it's a good, like, in broadcast order, first episode for Star Trek. It's good stuff.
And you know me, Kurt's looking fine.
Yes.
So I'm quite happy so far.
Yep, good stuff.
Anyway, shall we leave it there?
Okie dokie.
Take it easy, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. So apparently you do need salt in hot countries, like you said. But the thing is, right, the salt vampire isn't an alien. The salt vampire is indigenous to the planet. The humans are the aliens. They came there to investigate shit, which is why the bison analogy holds, and why also it's better Trek if they at least try and do everything they possibly can to find an alternative solution, and we don't see that discussion.
But again, there's no opportunity given because the thing is just killing everybody. So
yeah, but they don't think, do they, to just beam Dr. What's-It off, beam her down, and then put a quarantine in place. Do they? They don't, because McCoy's in the room. Spock suspects. Why doesn't Spock say, well, one alternative, if we identify this creature, it's clearly indigenous to the planet in the way that humans are.
But then again,
why don't we beam it back?
But then it's just going to starve because there's no salt. So
we'll give it a supply of salt, like I said.
But I don't know. It just seems like the creature is set up as something that just eats everybody's salt. So it's naturally predated everything on its planet. So therefore, it should die out by principle evolution. If you're just keeping it still alive by just chucking salt down, you're just storing up problems for the future.
What you need to do, then, is let the bollock brain people know, and they can put it in their menagerie.
Yes, that's right. That unshown episode at this point, they could reference that.
No, but they have shown one, haven't they? We've done it.
Well, the cage was never broadcast.
Oh, bollocks. In more ways than one.
Yes. So there we go. And I'm afraid, Shatner isn't great in this, I'm afraid, particularly towards the end. He's very OTT.
As I said, there is that nice scene in the middle, and I think that scene shows he
the
can
first
act.
2/3 of the story he's not bad in at all. It's and that was kind of my feeling about him in previous episodes as well. He just, well, with the exception of The Enemy Within, where you got evil. Anyway, but generally he starts well and then peters off towards the end.
Beginning to wonder if there are perhaps rather a lot of similarities between Shatner and Tom Baker, both in terms of behaviour as the star, but also in terms of capable of acting,
but
need very firm direction to stop them going over the top. This is
stimulus
what I'm
and stuff, because they get bored too easily. That's the problem. And when they get bored, they just don't bother anymore. So,
or overact, or something.
You know, Shatner, when he's been directed by Nick
Meyer,
yeah.
Brilliant, isn't he? He's really good.
In the hands of a lesser director.
No. But you watch Doctor Who...
Including himself, ironically.
Yeah. But you watch Doctor Who with Tom Baker, and you get the right director, and he really is amazing.
Yeah.
But you get the wrong director, he's fucking shit, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did Purry make of this?
Hello, Orgs. Purry here to talk about The Man Trap. The one with the salt vampire. Now, this one is a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, it is again considered a classic, and it was the first aired episode, but I had a few problems with it. I think one of the first things was the kind of the just sort of about halfway through it really lags. I think once the salt vampire gets onto the ship, I think it's possibly, and it might be with modern eyes, I just think they could have done better with that. I think the problem was that we knew the crewman who was replaced with the salt vampire, and it's a shame because it looked like they put like a little tick in to let you know it was the vampire, and I'd have much preferred the idea that for big tracks of this we didn't know who she was disguised as. I think that would have worked better. And I think it just slowed a lot down. There was a big kind of spree in the middle where basically the assault vampires kind of milling about on the ship and like creepily following Rand about and that sort of thing. Whereas and nothing's really happening, and it was actually quite slow. And again, I just didn't feel it really had that much oomph. Now, there's still a lot to like in it. For starters, we get to see Sulu doing more life sciences stuff. He's doing his what I'm guessing is his part-time job as a botanist, dealing with very odd hand puppets. Some of the leering on this, actually, that was terrible. It was the guys as Rand walks past with Sulu's food, and everybody, whoa, I'd love her to deliver my food, if you get my meaning, wink wink, nudge nudge. Like I say, there's bits to like. I actually like the set. I thought they did quite well with their basic planet set to have the ruins on it. And I like the fact that the Doctor, his weapon that he was fighting them with, was one of the old lasers from the cage. I thought that was a nice touch. Just he's been there for a good few years. He's not an updated weapon, or it could even be that they kind of ended up going to civilians once Starfleet adapted the phasers. I like that. I thought it was really good that we had Bones having a love interest. So it's not Kirk's old flame, it's McCoy's. And in fact, the Kirk-McCoy scenes were some really good ones. There is a bit where McCoy's kind of reminiscing, and Kirk, obviously he's got he's lost a crewman thing, and he kind of snaps at him. And then later on there is a bit of a kind of, I think I owe you an apology. And he goes, oh no, there's kind of a bit of to and fro from them. And I think I now watched with DeForest Kelley, it was actually after last time I watched Star Trek 2. He does some brilliant face acting, see, even if he's not saying anything. DeForest Kelley's reactions are quite often worth watching themselves, so he's always worth keeping an eye on in the scene. There are some weird things in this though. For starters, I'm really upset because the salt vampire killed waistcoat made entirely out of pockets guy. I can't believe it. We barely knew him. 1 minute he's walking around a corridor falling over, and the next minute you're salt vampired to death. The salt vampire suit itself, I know it looks kind of hokey now, but I actually think for its time it's not bad. The string vests may be a bit much, but I think they tried to make something that looked properly creepy and alien, and I like the idea of the suckers and the fingers. That said, the scene where it kind of reveals itself, it's not quite clear why. And there's also the whole kind of thing of Kirk in that scene just seems frozen, and there doesn't seem to be a reason why. When she's going from, like, there's a whole thing that goes on with fighting and that sort of thing, and Kirk's just standing there waiting for Spock to be knocked out so he can be attacked again. He is almost standing stationary, and I don't quite know what's going on there. Again, I wonder if there's a bit of dialogue missing, that it could stun its foes before approaching. I mean, again, for good things though, the crew all get, there's a bit more interaction with all the crew. There's a bit of a scene with Rand and Sulu. Uhura crops up and gets a couple of things to do. Although I didn't really like her coming on to Spock, her thing of, I'm lonely and I want a man to tell me I'm pretty. For starters, surely if you worked with him long enough, that's not going to be Spock. But at least she's getting more to do than say hailing frequencies open. How much more is a bit in the middle, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's entertaining enough. I don't think, again, why someone looked at the Corbomite maneuver and this and said this would be the first one they aired. It just doesn't quite make sense to me. But yeah, so a bit of a mixed one, but okay. I mean, at least it's not horrific, well, too horrifically offensive. There's some bad points in it. Yeah, the last bit, the Doctor. Is there an implication that he was getting it shapeshift into lots of things to boink? Because that's a bit icky. I mean, I suppose I don't want to kink shame people with a salt vampire fetish, so that's a weird way to leave it. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to the podcast, and I look forward to feedback to the next episode. But until then, bye for now.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Yeah, part-time job as a hand puppet caretaker. I mean, yeah, it's a bad hand puppet, but overall that particular set is, I think, quite good compared to the ziggurat/pyramid, which isn't really. And yes, I also liked that the archaeologist had the old laser, because he wouldn't have had a new one because he's been there a while, or because he's a civilian. Either way, it was a nice touch, I thought. And yes, again, he references the Kirk McCoy scenes that are good, which I like. But yes, Pocket Sky.
Yeah. Well, never know. That waistcoat may live on. I mean, somebody else could take up the mantle, literally.
Yes, that's true. Maybe somebody else.
But on the basis that I never remembered it being in Trek in the first place, I do rather suspect that it disappears quite quickly.
Maybe he just had a pocket fetish. I don't know. It was his own peculiar kink.
But yeah, I think Kirk was hypnotised. That's why he's
that's that.
Left sort of.
I
read
read
a bit
it that
odd,
way because of the Hammer Dracula films. That was my instinct to read it that way. But maybe if you haven't seen those, because I don't know, haven't seen many modern vampire films apart from the really shit Gary Oldman one, where he
Bram Stoker's. Insert apostrophes. Dracula.
Where he wears blue glasses halfway down his nose so they don't really work to shield him from the sun.
And you've got what's-her-face gushing all over him.
Winona Ryder.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I suppose, in comparison, DeForest Kelly is brilliant in this.
He is.
But then he's brilliant in everything.
He's really good.
Yeah, and you're right, there's a lot of sort of off-screen facial acting going on when he isn't the centre of attention. That's nice.
I like that. I really do think he's a very, very good actor.
Yeah, he's the best.
I think he's really good. And I see what you're saying about the string vest. I think that's what made us both think of the Sea Devils. And I think it's the one bit for me of the costume that doesn't really work.
Yeah, it does let it down. Yeah. Well, next time, recording on the 3rd of June, we shall be covering The Naked Time. Woo! Or The Naked Sulu. Well, half Naked Sulu.
Oh, with the sword. Brilliant.
Yes, Sulu sword. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my.
Yes. I saw, I don't know why, but I saw that quite recently. As in within the last year.
Oh, right. Okay. Random.
Like, I might have just decided to watch it or something, but I have seen that very recently and really enjoyed it.
It is good fun, so we're looking forward to that one.
Yes.
Thank you to everybody who's fed back.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next time. Cheery bye.
Please bye.
Can I get your hand to ride on? Just a piece of leg to bite on. What a night to fly my kite on. Do you wanna flash a light on? Take a look, it's on display.
The opening music for this podcast was provided by the talented Drew Barker.
The artwork was created by Andy Pelastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Rebel a liberator, find a way to be a skater. Rev it up to liberator, super friendly aviator. Take a look, it's on display for you. Coming down, not today.
Shut it down!